What's going on, everybody, and welcome to the Other Side of the Firewall podcast, where we talk about the latest and greatest in cybersecurity news, as well as we highlight those movers and shakers and glass ceiling breakers, those people of color who made it to the other side of the proverbial firewall. My name is Ryan Williams, and as always, I'm joined by Shannon Tynes
What's up? What's up?
and Daniel Acevedo. What's going on? So please continue to tune in throughout the week. So Monday, Tuesday are topics, Wednesday discussion, Thursdays are usually Ask a CISSP. I don't really have one yet, but I am recording one next Monday, which would be really good. So I'll keep that one a surprise. And then Fridays, everything else, movies, books, games, all that good stuff. But without further ado, I give it to Shannon.
All right, everybody. This article comes from cybersecuritynews.com, and it is written by, oh gosh, Tushar Subradutta. I'm
I
sorry,
think you
I'm
nailed it.
messing these
You nailed
names.
it.
I don't know about that one. And the title of this one is North Korean hackers employing new tactic to acquire remote jobs. So we had one about this before, right? Where they were doing impersonations and how they were getting in to get these jobs and whatnot. And so what they're doing now, uh, they're doing more of targeting these remote work jobs, right? Because they're things that are in demand. Everybody wants to work remotely and do these things. So what they're doing is they're using tactics like voice phishing is what they call it. So vishing, right, with a V to gain access to corporate networks, right? And so what they're doing is they're out there advertising, on LinkedIn, putting these fake job postings out there, getting people interested. Holding the way I read this is holding fake interviews with them and then stealing their credentials, right? It's the way
Yep.
that I'm reading this, right? So these people are thinking, hey, this really good job. I'm going to interview for it. They go and they download, this software to try to to try to do this interview, keystroke loggers, all that good stuff, right? And so they get their information stolen, right? And then what ends up happening is they end up impersonating these people that they've done these fake interviews with, and then going on to these small and medium sized companies, right? And trying to get these jobs in there. So, and Ryan, you've said this before, and I'm coming more and more over to your side to where these criminals are getting so smart now, man. Like they're getting
Yeah, I hate to give them credit,
so
but
yeah.
man,
This one's good.
This
This
is
one's good.
really good though, right? Because it's based on real people. It's based on real people that have these qualifications. So like if you're looking up the people and you're just looking up, what their qualifications are, like it's good, right? Like you're like, oh man, this seems really, really good. Now you have to go that extra step, right? You have to go the extra step of doing verification when it comes to, their identity and things of that nature, right? Which their work locations, verifying different things that take a little bit more time, right? But in this day and age, like again, like some of these people are just hiring on as fast as they can, right? Their businesses are growing. Again, remote workers. But yeah, you got to directly verify like employment histories, things of that nature. Like this is, I don't want to say it's becoming an epidemic of this happening, but this is happening more and more often now. So I know we did an article on this before, but I've seen others where it's been the same type of thing, like same type of method being used because of what's going on. But I'm curious, like just me personally, I'm curious how long this is going to go on because I'm seeing more and more where these companies, these larger companies, which they aren't really targeting, they're targeting more the medium and smaller size companies. They're starting to bring people back to the office more now, right? So like they may be less and less inclined to go down this path and pursue this because the opportunity is not there for the remote work. But yeah, this operation, they talk about it in the article. It breached 140 devices split between the Windows OS, which is 50% of them, right? Linux and Mac platforms, right? And it's targeting developers based in India, Pakistan, Kenya, Nigeria, Spain, Russia. Like they're getting it in out there. You know what I'm saying? But Daniel, what's your thoughts on
Yeah, full circle for this one. But I would be remiss to say, for the new listeners, if you don't know, I get really tickled and I find it super humorous the names they use for these things. And we have the rare four banger on this one. We have Contagious Interview, Wage Mole, Beaver Tail, and Invisible. What is Invisible something? Invisible Ferret? Yeah, it's amazing. This is like I gobbled it up. I was reading the article and I just couldn't stop laughing. Like, this is amazing. But this is like simple and sophisticated all wrapped in one. It's like full circle, particularly if we're looking at the countries that they're targeting. It's really smart because they're, for lack of a better word, underdeveloped countries in cybersecurity defense or maybe awareness. But they're known, especially India, for large call farms or IT farms of these natures. They're outsourced and contracted by a lot of large companies to do these kind of things as well. So the expertise and experience is there for these kind of people. So the job posting looks good, or there's a job recruiter reaching out to them for an opportunity, especially remote, they're gonna think it's legit. And I don't know how you protect yourself against that aspect of it as the user, right? Like I'm getting reached out by a job interviewer. if everything checks out and I'm going on the interview, unless I have something like intelligence feeds hooked up to whatever I have on my local computer, you're not going to catch the stuff that's getting downloaded onto your computer, simulating the software to do the Teams call. So that's really sophisticated part of this. And then stealing that person's identity and then reusing it to go after mid-size and small job market or mom and pop shops to then funnel their cryptocurrency or funnel their stuff to your team's resources. It's honestly ingenious. I hate to like be kind of so over the moon of this, but it's a really well thought out plan. And I don't. They give some recommendations at the end of it, but it's like normal things that you would do day in and day out to protect your normal endpoint anyway. I don't think those are really going to stop these kind of attacks. So, tip my hat off to them. And I think now, as a person going into the job market, these are the kind of things you need to start looking at. Or if someone reaches out to you more so with like an opportunity, almost like when you get a text message or you get a phone call from somebody, it's like, hey, I got your number. Guess who it is? Or, oh, hey, Anna, is that you? You want to play tennis this Wednesday? And you're like, I don't know, Anna. Whose number is this? Like, you kind of have to look at job, someone reaching out to you for a new job opportunity in the same lens as those text messages. Or do you think I'm too cynical, Ryan? What do you think? Am I looking at this the right way?
So hold on real quick, Ryan. So Daniel, you did what I did, right? So when I saw the recommendations, I was like, you should be doing these things anyway. And but like I think because of our background and what we do, we're like, yeah, you should be doing this stuff anyway, right? You should definitely be sandboxing this stuff or doing stuff in virtual
Yeah,
environments when it's downloadable. Like we take it for granted because we've done it for so long or
yeah,
that we know to do these things. But there are people out there, like you hope somebody that they're trying to scam for this would know better, but it's definitely not the
yeah.
case. We just can't assume.
Yeah, that's true. I do have to admit, like opening the stuff in a virtual environment, that's kind of a little bit more not as common, right? So, like, I have a job interview, the software maybe like either put it in a VM and that's connected to my network array, and I have to have that kind of set up beforehand. Or if my antivirus software has that capability to be able to execute that executable in a sandbox environment or whatever, that's a little bit more. But kind of the other stuff is kind of like every day you should know these things. 2024.
We're assuming, right? And
Yeah,
again, me and you did the same thing when we read it. We're just like, yeah, you should do that. You should do that. You should do that, right? Like it's not
if
the
not, you're in the
case.
right place. You're listening to the right podcast, and I'm glad you're here. Definitely read these recommendations. And our fearless leader Ryan has even more recommendations now, and he's going to give us what his thoughts are on this.
Yeah, there it is. There it is. So at the end of the day, it's cameras on. Like people hate that. Like so, like there's a certain like I'm a remote worker, right? So I've been a remote worker since I retired from the military. I love it. I can't see my life going back to the office, right? If I could help it at all. I will fight to stay remote. But with that has to come certain responsibilities, like the protection of your systems and things of that nature, right? If it's BYOD or what have you, like all of the normal stuff that a company would do to protect itself. But you as a remote worker, you're gonna have to give up some benefits, such as you gotta cut the camera on. So that means that you gotta do your hair, you gotta brush your teeth, you gotta put on a polo, at least you got to be dressed from top up, right? Um, it's gonna have to be a thing where employers are gonna start verifying like you are you and you are at work as inintrusive as possible, but there has to be some give or take, right, to stop this because like we talk about people always in like we're in political season still, even though it's over. So they're coming to take our jobs. Well, they legitimately are taking our jobs in this case, whether it be North Korea or some other bad actor out there. So if you want to prevent that, then you might have to give up a few of your freedoms. My first job, so I had people know my story, right? I applied to like 51 jobs. I finally got a couple callbacks, like legitimately two callbacks near the end of me applying. And the one job I made to like round two, it was all virtual, but cameras on. Then the job that hired me, I did a virtual interview and then they flew me in. And I thought that was a bit much. I was like, man, if I don't get this job, you guys have wasted a lot of money. But from their perspective, they want to meet the person. They want to meet you in person. They want to get a feel for your body language. Are you presentable? Like, how do you react? Like, get to know you in real life. But that might be the thing to do if you're a medium-sized to large company, you might have to start flying people in just so you can get eyes on them that they're real people, right? You can only do so much in an hour-long interview to pretend to be somebody else. If you are flying in Ryan Williams from Buffalo, New York, and he shows up and he has a Baltic accent, something may be a little off, right?
But I think that's why they're targeting the medium and the small companies because those resources aren't there to fly people in like that, right?
Right.
The resources may not be there. Let me not say they may not be there. The resources are not going to be used for them to do that extra verification.
So we had to kept do something like, hey, fly him in Spirit, like $300 ticket, one way. You got to find your own way back. But yeah, I don't know. Like something has to be done in order to tame or taper this. But at the same time, you are correct. A lot of bigger companies are doing the return to office, right? RTO is a big thing in larger companies, and I think that's terrible. Like I get it. Like it's a matter of you want to get eyes on people and you want to make sure they're being productive and things of that nature. But I believe you are losing a lot of productivity. At least from again, it's my own bias. Like I work longer because I work from home. Like I'm always doing something because I'm like, I could do this, I could do that, I could do this because I'm comfortable in my own house, and I wind up working extra time, and I'm like, oh man, I didn't even charge for that. They got me on that one because I don't have a commute. I don't have to go to work and get settled and go on my lunch break and there's gonna be small talk. Like, no, it's just me by myself, just handling work. So I believe I'm getting more done. But I mean, that's not. It might not be the majority. I could be biased, but yeah, something needs to be done in this regard, and I think it could just be vetting better in video interviews, right? Like just using common sense. Like, does this person sound, act, or react the way that someone in this area would from this part of the country, right? You have to use some common sense there. And then when you're hiring talent from offshore, then that's a little bit more iffy. Uh, but I would say if you're hiring talent from offshore because you're trying to cut costs, hey, you took a gamble and you might hit the jackpot. So that I hate to be so cold when it comes to that, but it's the logistics of getting somebody here in the States to drive up, fly up, or etc. is much easier than hiring somebody who is working for half the wage overseas because you might wind up in this situation getting duped. So there may be not necessarily return to office, but there might be return to the continental U.S., the contiguous U.S., or what have you, to better protect yourself against false employees, I guess you would call them. But I digress. Any second what's it called when you like not piggyback? Yeah, I guess it would be piggyback. Anybody want to piggyback off that?
Go back or go backs. Any go backs
Go
for any?
backs, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
You hit it, man. Y'all hit
Yep.
it.
So, yeah, but
I
continue
will
to
say
tune
one
in.
thing. No
Oh,
go
there it is.
backs, but yeah. One thing I wanted to point out though, the people that are doing this, they don't get that much money from it. Like I was looking at the article, it's like 40,000 euros, but it's like a pretty sophisticated like endeavor all around just for 40,000. But you can get caught and get arrested too, or your whole operation can get shut down if you're the one outlier that gets caught. So I
Right,
think
right.
it's kind of it's unusual, but I guess for them it maybe it's just easy and they have like a system ready where it's just they're just rinse and repeat, and it's
Yeah. It's probably multiplication, right? Like, yeah, one person is 40,000, but what if you get four or five?
yeah,
Then
that's true.
then it starts to definitely add up pretty fast. You
Get
gonna
our
say,
math
Sharon?
wrong.
And it's making it easier with AI, right? Like so AI makes it a
Yep.
lot easier to do some of this as well, right? And honestly, they don't think they're going to be the ones that are caught up in one of these multinational, stings
Yeah.
where the Department of Justice and the FBI goes out and finds these people. Their thinking is that you're not going to catch us, you know what I mean? Like
But we coming.
I don't know.
U.S. is coming
Yeah, yeah.
with our
Well,
coalition.
well, we'll see who leads the top cybersecurity agency, right?
Yeah.
We'll
Yeah, we'll
But
see what the
you
future
make a
holds
good
on
point
that
though,
one.
Ryan. Before we cut off though, you make a good point for the video interviews though. I think a direction that the companies are gonna have to go to, or all companies, is like they're gonna have some kind of software that kind of verifies to see if there's any AI presence in this video call versus an actual human being. If this is becoming more popular, we've done like two or three of these stories already, and those are the ones that have come across our desk for to say like these are out there, and it's going to become more commonplace the next 5 years.
Yeah.
Something's gotta come up.
I think it will, like, because we talked about it in the past, like when the deepfakes started popping up, there were universities that had
Hmm.
counterintelligence software that could you just tell by the reflection in the eyes, right? They're like, that's not
Yep.
a person. That's not Tom Cruise randomly calling you, right? But in this case, that's not, Ryan Williams from Buffalo, New York. That's not him.
But it's
That's
getting better.
AI.
Again, it's getting better though.
It's true. It'd be
Or
probably
That
next
that
one.
that
Yeah.
technology is just it's tenfold more than what it was a year ago, right? To where it's like, yeah, I can't. The hands aren't as weird as they used to be, right? The
yeah, the
Yeah.
hands
eyes
were
aren't
always weird.
as yeah, the eyes aren't as dead as they looked before, right? So,
Right. Yeah. So I don't know. We'll circle back to this one because it seems to only be getting worse.
Mm.
So we'll talk about ChatGPT 5 and how it is impersonating people, right? It's Hey, at the end of the day, if it could do it better than a real person, maybe you should hire it. But I digress. So continue to tune in. Monday, Tuesday are topics. Wednesday is our discussion. Thursdays are reserved for Ask a CISSP, where I sit down and have interviews with movers and shakers and glass ceiling breakers within the industry. And then Fridays, everything else, movies, books, games, all that good stuff. Definitely continue to tune in. Hit us up at all the websites that go by our name, The Other Side of the Firewall, The Other Side of the FW, or Ask a CISSP. Hit me up personally. I'm at RyRy Security Guy. That's RYRY Security Guy. You can find me on pretty much everything, but LinkedIn is where I'm most active. And you, Daniel, where can they find you?
Daniel Acevedo.
There it is. Stay safe. Stay secure.